see it. We're recording.
Yeah.
Here we are.
It's happening.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the After Game Show, where we take a minute to reflect and ponder what happened, what did go on, what didn't go on, and possibly what we ourselves or one of our close friends could have done much better.
Uh-oh.
Griffin.
Never.
I pushed Curt.
Kyler needs to work better with others.
Kyler fit in pretty great, actually.
All right, well,
all things considered.
As the new kid in class, let's start with Griffin Cork. Griffin,
Yeah.
tell us about Kyler's first brand new experience in Candlekeep.
I liked Kyler's first intro to it because Kyler's met Lumen before, but I think Ptolemy is very stoic and solid and gravitas. Where when Lumen was talking about whether or not Malquotic was gonna die, like very laissez-faire, like listen guys, there's no way she's gonna make it. Like so that was kind of like, this is a different place than I have come from. I would agree. I think it's funny. I think Zrill reminds Kyler a little bit of Paige in terms of like, yeah, let's do it. Chaos. Who cares what happens? Go.
I can see that.
So,
I can see that for sure.
There was definitely archetypes that Kyler connected to. In terms of moments, there is nothing better to Kyler, I guess, and to Griffin than the audience's magic effect activations doing so much harm initially and then so much good. like both the character and the audience going, that's what that does. Okay, this time. Bleh. So mine was good. I first injured people with 6 radiance damage, which is a third of my whole hit points. Like that's baffling to me if I did that to somebody else or someone did that to me. The favorite by far was Eric's use of Gerardo's mirror image, especially because Gerardo was in the thick of it the entire fight.
Yeah.
So that's probably mine. Learning. I don't know. I didn't do enough. I thought probably the fog had gone far enough down the stairs, but I didn't do enough asking before I pushed Curt. It all turned out great.
Yeah.
But I think that's probably my learning thing. I'm very grateful. Yeah, anyway, sorry. I'll stop talking about all the moments because I'm going to steal all of them. So I'll stop.
Yeah, that's the end of the show. Griffin said all.
All right. Anyway, guys, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe to Griffin's Patreon.
Justin, does Gerardo have any words to add to Kyler's? How did Gerardo feel about what was going on and what happened?
Well, Gerardo, it just like really wanted to take a nap. But Justin's interpretation through Gerardo was really like the combat was really fun. And it's nice to see those like themes sort of like, well, not, I don't know, maybe that theme is the wrong term, but like the like recurring things that are happening, like the fog coming back again. It was like, oh, it's like, okay, we know what this does to us. How do we like now we can interact with it with the full knowledge of what's going to happen, which kind of like layers on like sort of the fun part of the combat and things like that. So that was really fun. And yeah, it was nice having Kyler back in Candlekeep. And
right. Was there anything that you weren't happy with what you did or Gerardo did? Or wish you did better or decisions?
Oh yeah, I have some problems with what Kyler did.
We all do. Everyone does.
Now we're getting to the good part. Yeah.
No, I don't think so. Gerardo wasn't able to be super roguey in that combat yesterday, but I don't know. He kind of he kind of likes Zrill, so he kind of just stood with her and fought with her. So that was kind of fun.
Well, I did like that one request where since the person was within the monster, that really was within 5 feet.
Yeah, I sneak attack seemed totally appropriate within the monster.
I
That's
live
right.
for rogues negotiating for sneak attack. I love it so much. I think it's so funny.
She's our ally. She doesn't know it, but she's my ally.
Yeah, that's right.
I absolutely looked up what the internet consensus on sneak attack during engulfment before this episode.
Really?
Like I've got a leg to stand on there.
I assumed you'd be
Wow.
prepared for me.
Wow, that is next level for sure.
Yeah. Holy
I
crap.
don't even know. Is there many people commenting on something like that?
Oh,
Maybe you could set like precedent.
as a little aside, I do think I have precedent on one thing that's about engulf. So I did find at least one thread about sneak attack while there's somebody engulfed and whether a rogue can get it. But when you are engulfed, you cannot breathe, right? You start to smother. And I wanted to know whether if you have verbal components, whether you can cast a spell while engulfed. And there is nothing that I could find on the internet about that.
You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah.
So I went with the underwater, fairly common ruling that you have enough air in your lungs for one verbal component before you can't use verbal components while underwater anymore, unless you can breathe underwater. Your thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
So anyway,
interesting.
Was
Maul
that
got
the,
one spell while she was engulfed.
was
Sorry.
that the gout of flame that came flying out at the beginning? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She cast Agonazor Scorcher while she was
Nice.
Nice.
in
Yeah. Hopefully she got an advantage to hit from.
That's a really good question. The other thing that she rolled
Shit.
really well, so it was a hit. And I'm like, yeah, that works. Actually, no, is it? I can't remember now if it's an attack or a save. I think it is actually an attack. So anyway, there was a clear hit. The one thing that I did think also, and had been tempted to like, I'm going to equip Maul so that she can fight while engulfed, because that was the plan, was to have her engulfed, right? Was whether I should give her like a small weapon. Because another thing I'm like, I feel like, so usually you roll disadvantage on the attack when you're inside them because you are restrained and you have disadvantage on your attacks because of that condition. But I also feel like you can't get an attack with a big weapon.
Right.
So she only has a quarterstaff, so she could get no attacks in at all while she was in there because she's got a big quarterstaff. You can't really
Wind up.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what was going on inside.
Wow.
Wow. See, that's the internal monologue, literally, of what's
Right,
happening
yeah.
inside the monster. Like that's
That
next
whole
level DM.
description. That's why we're doing this segment right now.
That's why.
You would
Yeah.
have never known.
I have a question about it, Jen. Do we know
Yeah.
how close she was to death?
She
there?
was pretty
Ooh.
close. She was down to about like a dozen hit points. She's a wizard. She didn't have a lot to start off with, but she's higher level. She's an NP. She doesn't have PC stats, but she's sort of a higher level spellcaster. Has probably more hit points than wizards at your level, but she's still a wizard.
Right.
Yeah, 12 is almost my max.
Yeah, we were pretty low too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you guys had space to move around.
Yes.
Kurt. So we talk about Ant's adventure.
Yeah, sure. What I really loved about last night was how Jen made it feel so claustrophobic. Like it felt really condensed, and there was danger coming at us from all sides. And we sort of talked about it in the break, all of us, about how, when Jen set it up that Maul was pretty much, gonna die down there, that all of us were like, well, then we should probably go up to the meeting because there's no point in going to save her because we'll all just die. And then we all decided to go. I was like, this is crazy. What are we doing? Like, we showed up and it was just chaos. And that just swept over everybody. And I thought it was just like, we hit the ground running, like right off the bat, and it was super exciting right from the word go. My only regret is that my spectral hand didn't just kind of give Kyler a little shove back. Just a tiny little, like 15-foot shove.
Oh,
Excellent. Now, Jen, our dungeon mistress, what did you think about? What did you enjoy most, and what do you want to talk about?
Okay, so maybe two things. One is as a suggestion, which I feel like I had a much better picture of what was happening because I did make a little map with tiny little paper markers for myself, so that I always had a much clearer picture in my head about where you were and all that sort of thing. And then once like the little fragments appeared and all that kind of thing, and the fog being moving on the map, I'm very glad that I did that, even though we always do theater of the mind. I'm like, oh my goodness, it was very helpful for me to do that. And I hope that continued to give you guys a good sense of, maybe like if you couldn't picture the whole thing, at least like what you were able to do and what was threatening you and who was where and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I missed that for my book launch battle too. Like I literally lost my place about who was where and stuff because people were shifting positions and things, and I literally should have mapped it out. Theater of the mind, but with a map on the side.
Right? Just a little, a little thing.
I felt like you did a really good job there was a couple of different times where you recapped what we were all seeing, which was great and super helpful for us as players to go, oh, right, Kyler's here, I'm here, Zerill's over there, here's where the fog's coming, it was, you did a good job of capturing that.
Yeah, thanks. And sort of along those lines, I guess this is like, I'm just like Lumen. This is point 2, parts A and B. So the other thing is,
yes.
I did an action-oriented monster, sort of a la Matt Colville, that I was like, so homebrewed, obviously had a lot of Shambling Mound in there, but had like more abilities, not exactly legendary, but like villain abilities, so that I could do something every round that was interesting rather than just do 2 slam attacks kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And so I thought that was fun. It was a lot to keep track of, so that was good. And I wanted to give a shout out to that whole mechanic because I think that's a great way to have sort of single bosses or like a boss at all kind of thing. And the other thing that like your point about making like the creature thematic and also a progression of what you had dealt with before. I'm so glad that came across because I really wanted it to feel that way, that this was like something that you had seen before, something I like giving players sometimes a chance to feel like they can prepare and know what's going on, especially since almost all my monsters are homebrewed. So, you've got to have actually experienced it in the game to get any sense of what's going on. And that there was like, again, I really tried to put a lot of intelligence saves in this combat and actually maybe in this whole arc as part of like the theme of losing knowledge. And as a little dig, like sometimes don't make intelligence your dump stat. That's not always, like you might actually be asked to make an intelligence save. So we did a lot of those.
Do people dump intelligence?
Yeah.
Not one of the big 3.
I almost always do. I mean,
the
fog is scary for Kyler, but yeah, intelligence is almost always my dump stat.
I mean, intelligence is a sort of single purpose one, right? Like it doesn't have.
But all the skill checks are intelligence.
How many dungeon masters forget to ask for investigation and just always ask for perception,
That's the thing.
The thing that puts me is that nature and religion are both intelligence stats, and I'm like, well, those are sure to come up in context.
Right, but I think perception, insight, and medicine would come up way more.
Who cares? It's so much more fun if you don't notice something, but if you ask the right question. Like,
Right.
I don't know. That's
Yeah.
just my kind of game. But Paige is not smart.
What do the trees see?
And then one big rose to all of the players for actually my favorite scene of that. And it felt like it was a nice progression to see you guys as a party. Was when you discussed whether or not you were going to tell Ma Thodak about what, like, after you'd rescued her, kind of thing. And that whole discussion, that was like cream. It was so nice. I love to hear you guys talk about that.
Oh, that stressed me out.
It was a bit stressful, yeah.
Yeah, but it also felt like a substantive like conversation. It was and you thought of things that I hadn't thought of, which is why I give you a situation and not something that I had figured out what you were going to do or what the most likely path was. And so I really enjoyed that part.
I love that I still don't know if we've made the right decision. Like I just like we made a decision, but I'm not certain that it's the right one yet.
What was, just remind me what the decision was in the end? Did you
Well, that
decide
we told Mal about that one of the bookmasters is corrupted.
Right.
We've given her that information. Yes.
Right. Yeah, I think that's that's good.
But not the bigger context for it. Just that
Yeah.
it seems like
Yeah,
a candlekeep
half-truth.
phenomenon. And
Yeah.
I liked, we don't even know how we got here.
Yeah.
Well, here's the other thing: is we spent I can say it now. We spent a lot of time figuring out how Kyler got there, and then Mal never asked. Kyler, if I purposely stayed quiet the whole end of the game.
Yeah.
I had my
In case-
deception check roller ready.
Well, you are still in Candlekeep, right? Are you in the next game, Kyler?
I'm not.
Oh
Okay.
boy.
But there will be somebody else.
Yeah, Ripley shows up, I think, in the next game.
Okay.
Oh.
All right. Any thoughts or observations, Emma, watching from straddling the two worlds?
Yeah, I had lots of roses for last night. I loved I love Gerardo's butt scoot. Like, I just love that Gerardo hates playing. Why is this always happening to me? I love that. I love, like, Ant, although it was borderline suggestive, I love you like opening your robe to fly.
It's so funny because I never meant that at all. What I wanted it to be was more like a cape, but it came across as like I'm a flasher or something. You know?
That's
Well,
not how you described it.
My mouth
Because
and
it
my
was
brain were
followed.
not working.
It was followed by a long stroke.
There was a lot of beard stroking. It was
Yeah, so weird.
beautiful.
Get ready for my magic.
Yeah, my brain and my mouth were not in sync last night. I don't think.
I love Kyler shoving Ant down the stairs. That was a big rose for me. Like,
Yeah, I even liked that.
I have no choice. I push him down the stairs.
I gotta do it.
Yeah.
And that your word of radiance was sorry.
That's a pretty good. That wraps up Kyler kind of in a nutshell.
And I
my,
thought
my righteous fervor is exploded by sorry.
yeah. And I love Jen's description of Candlekeep at the end, like a cake. It was just like
Yeah.
so good. You guys have been fighting in the. Did you? I think you said deep chocolate, Jen, and I was like, amazing.
Emma, is there a sound cue that you played that you thought was like pristine and that we totally missed?
I like to assign all of the spellcasters like signature sounds. And
Really?
yeah, like for each of your like go-to spells. And the one I chose for Melf's Acid Arrow, which you cast, I think, Griffin once,
Mhm.
it was bad. It was very bad. I played it and I was like, garbage, that's going away. But yeah, it
That's
was
great.
a fun one.
Cool. Well, I think that's a good thing. We'll try. I think we'll keep experimenting with this this format to see how well things work. But I'd like to thank everybody for coming on and giving all of us a sort of behind the scenes view as to what happens behind the D20 Initiative. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye. See you next one. Okay, don't end the meeting. Just stop the recording.
It's been a good meeting. Bye, everybody.